Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. So today we're doing a series, the Unported Playlist, where I take some of my favorite unported arcade games of all time, and today we're playing the arcade release of Blade Strangers. When I say this game is an incredibly weird and charming mashup of a bunch of different video games that you wouldn't expect to see fighting game characters in, I 100% mean it. While this did get ported to home consoles on some platforms, the arcade version has a few differences, and honestly at this point in time, I just love talking about some strange arcade games, and Blade Strangers 100% hits in that category. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But this is basically what happens when you take a 2D fighting game that feels a little bit like Guilty Gear, and you put Isaac from The Binding of Isaac in it, Shovel Knight, all of the characters from something like Cave Story, and a bunch of other characters from different games of those genres. It is not the type of thing you'd expect to see in a fighting game, but somehow it completely works, including using Isaac as a fighting game character. You expect that would just be really unbalanced, but somehow the developers managed to balance Isaac as well as all of the other characters because they feel completely different when you're actually playing as them. And as far as the art style is concerned, absolutely love it. I believe these might be sprites, but this is the era where they were using 3D models and basically making them look like sprites, so it's hard to tell, and I couldn't find any information on that. So if you have an answer for me, leave me a comment down below. But honestly, this game is just straight up a ton of fun. It's not going to be the deepest fighting game ever. It's not going to be the most difficult fighting game ever either, but it just gives you a ton of charm and a lot of fun characters you never actually expect to show up in a fighting game. And even though it's in Japanese for the arcade release, what I mean, this game has a very weird story. I 100% mean it. We're talking to a Sharp X68000 to the right there, and I'm not sure what the 67 computer is. Maybe just the younger brother of the X68000 that never truly existed, but the story is just absolutely weird. It's computer based, and honestly, having an X68000 as a character is absolutely hilarious. And that really is the thing about this game. You're never quite sure what's going to happen next and what you're going to see next, but you're always charmed by it. And like I said, Isaac from The Binding of Isaac is in here. And again, not the type of character you would expect to see in a fighting game, but somehow his moveset and overall playability just 100% works. And it incorporates so much of what was in The Binding of Isaac as the original game that it just kind of hits. And if you are a fan of stuff like this, Cave Story or otherwise, even Shovel Knight, seeing these characters in a fighting game is just a complete trip. Because again, this feels a lot like Guilty Gear to me, except easier and with different characters. And you can totally tell what the art designers are going for on that particular character on the left there. They definitely are not hiding any of their inspiration whatsoever. And it is fun to see the art style, someone like Quote from Cave Story, because they basically just showed up as a little 16-bit sprite in the game, but now they have a completely new flair and personality. And Solange on the left, definitely a particular type of character design as well. Now, as far as the fighting game engine is concerned, there's some good combos in here. There's a ton of special moves, but it definitely is balanced more towards, I wouldn't say a beginner fighting game fan, but more of a novice. The CPU is not going to absolutely destroy you when you're playing the game, and it's never going to rise to the difficulty of something like a Street Fighter or a King of Fighters game, especially on the boss difficulty. But it is going to give you just enough challenge to learn it, and if you bring a friend along for the ride and learn the game together, it's going to be a ton of fun. But I don't believe this thing has any sort of competitive scene whatsoever, which would make sense because it isn't the shallowest game ever, but it's also not the deepest. But I do love the mixture of 3D and 2D as well. Those backgrounds really do have some like depth to them, and all of the backgrounds are very unique and varied and charming in their own right. It's just one of those things. I'm assuming most people probably didn't even realize this game existed. It kind of just came and went, and even though it did get console releases, the arcade version being a Japanese exclusive, definitely something that I'm sure 99 of 100 of you have never played in an arcade. And it definitely is a game that I think you should check out because it has a ton of fun. When you find a particular character you like Helen here for me, you learn some of the combos and the move set. It's gonna be just something that is gonna give you a fun time as far as fighting games are concerned. And if you love a 2D fighting game and you're looking for something new to play because you played basically everything else, you could do a lot worse than this one. And I love that little red blood effect there as well. Kind of feels like a samurai movie come to life. And of course it has a fun soundtrack as well, so go ahead and listen for 45 seconds or so, but come back, I'll show you more of the weird characters, including Shovel Knight, because it's just strange that he's in a fighting game. But enjoy!
兄さんシュバルツ兄さんでしょ
何も思い出せない。
ラウンドワンファイト止めますそうで止めます
どうしてこいよ。
おれ当たって止
はい。
め
mean, from the animations of the character portraits to obviously that guitar-heavy music, you would be forgiven for thinking that Arc System Works made this game, but they did not whatsoever. This is Studio Saizensen game. They made one fighting game before, and then they made this one as well. So it definitely leans heavily into that inspiration as far as Arc System Works is concerned, Guilty Gear and BlazBlue, but it is its completely own thing, developed by a completely different team. Maybe there's a little bit of staff overlap, I'd have to look it up, but honestly, if you like Guilty Gear, you're definitely going to enjoy this game. And what other fighting games are going to let you fight on the back of a giant, almost humanoid cat? And that is the fun thing about this game. Every single thing is unique and weird. Everything is going to just be charming and unique. Getting a cat paw background there with a baseball bat, and then the cat comes up and absolutely body slams you Macho Man Randy Savage style into the ground is something you can't say about many fighting games. So that's always a fun time when you have something so weird that's also such a competent fighter. And the nice thing is, again, this is going to ease you into its gameplay. It is a very easy game to pick up and play. It's a very easy game to do the specials on. You're going to feel like you're learning this a lot quicker than some of the other more dense fighting games out there. And if you have friends that maybe don't play that many fighting games, or a spouse or anything like that, you kind of want to get into the genre but you're really having trouble finding an inroad, this might actually be a really good title, because it's going to not hold your hand, but it's going to gently place its hand on your back and kind of guide you along the path. And again, I just love the animations in this title. Not sure if they're 3D models or sprites. I feel like they might actually be 3D models as I look at them closer, but they have so much charm, so much unique flair, and seeing Shovel Knight again in a fighting game, just not the type of character you would expect. And that is the fun thing, taking the Acalis games as well as the makers of this game, taking their characters and putting them into their own fighting game. Basically feels like SNK versus Capcom, except from two companies that are not known for fighting game characters whatsoever. So it really has that Bizarre World feel to it. It feels like something maybe that could be the third or fourth release in a franchise, but it is just a standalone single video game, and that is always such a strange thing to see. And obviously this game probably didn't do too well. I couldn't find any sales numbers on the console releases, so I'm assuming it really wasn't as big of a hit as they had hoped for. But Shovel Knight in a fighting game, just a lot of fun, although I would say his moveset not as fun or unique as a lot of the other characters. He moves a little bit slower, and while his hits are heavy, it just doesn't click with me. I'm going to do one more soundtrack sample because again, it's definitely Guilty Gear style with that guitar, and I'll be right back with more.
やりました。あ、こんじゃないの？あら？さっきのは
I mean, it's an awesome soundtrack, and I love how absurd the story is, even if it's in Japanese, and I never plan to find out what's happening in English, because it's one of those things. I'm sure what I'm imagining is a lot more fun than what the actual story is. I actually checked into it. I was correct in the second thought. These are 3D models that were then condensed down to 2D sprite animations and then put back together, so it's kind of a mixed bag of both. You can definitely tell they put a lot of frames of animation in, and it feels lush and fun because of that. Now, Blade Strangers is not going to be one of those deep fighting games that you're going to spend hundreds upon hundreds of hours playing, but it is a game that's a ton of fun that you probably haven't played before that you should 100% check out. It's got such a strange roster of characters you would never expect to see in a fighting game, and again, if you have friends that just aren't into the genre that much but they always want to try to jump in and play at a game night, this is definitely one I can't recommend enough you put on, because even if they are crap at fighting games, they'll find a character they click with and they'll be able to be relatively competitive and get that feedback loop of success that makes them want to dig in more, because I totally understand there's some fighting games out there that if you're not an expert at, you basically get discouraged from match one. The game absolutely destroys you over and over again, you walk away. It's one of those things. I feel like fighting games would be maybe more popular with other people if there were games like this out there that were successful that kind of eased you in. But Blade Strangers, as far as the fighting game mechanics are concerned, it's like an 8 out of 10, but as far as the charm and weirdness and overall story featuring a sharp X68000 is concerned, 10 out of 10 in my book. Leave me a comment down below if you played it. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts, but we're done. I've beaten the game, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.